Welcome, everyone. We'll give it a few minutes for others to join before we get started with today's webinar. All right, we can go ahead and get started. Thank you all for making the time to join today's webinar hosted by Foursquare, MX, and AWS. Today, we'll be discussing how to leverage location data to enrich transaction data and create more personalized banking experiences. Friendly reminder that you can drop in questions throughout the course of the webinar in the questions section of the tool. We won't be answering them in real time, but we do have a Q&A session at the end where we'll try to get to everyone's questions by. Really excited about today's topic, quite timely and relevant as we've seen challenger traditional retail banks looking for more ways to power personalized banking experiences for their end customers. But we also know that they're struggling with the extent to which their first-party data paints that 360 view of their consumer behaviors and spending patterns. And we've also learned that external data plays a key role in helping to bridge that gap, particularly location data. So we'll hear today from Foursquare, MX Technologies, and AWS how their combined solutions can help banks power more personalized experiences for their end customers. First, we'll learn how POI and foot traffic data from Foursquare is leveraged by financial services companies holistically to paint 360 views of their customers. We'll also learn how MX uses Foursquare's places data in particular to enrich, clean, and organize their transactions API for various financial institutions. And then you'll hear from me to share a little bit more about how AWS Data Exchange helps customers like Foursquare and MX natively exchange data in the cloud. Before we jump in, I'd love to introduce our panelists that I'm joined by today. I'll start by introducing myself. I'm on the AWS Data Exchange Customer Advisor team. My team works with AWS customers to support their third-party data needs across a wide variety of data domains. So we help you both search, discover, access, and ultimately ingest data in the cloud. And this includes location data, but also consumer insights data, demographics data, transaction data, and I'm pleased to be joined by David Whitcomb from MX. David has over a decade of financial services experiences, with experiences including running a mortgage shop just after the 2008 financial crisis, as a developer and development manager for internal banking applications, as well as online banking and mobile applications. Now, as a VP of product connectivity at MX, he's focused on building a connectivity framework to help unify banking API infrastructure. And I'm also joined by Gavin Morin, the Senior Director of Strategic Sales at Foursquare, where he focuses particularly on banking and financial services industries. Previously, Gavin was at Samsung, where he led the go-to-market efforts of Samsung Pay, responsible for merchant outreach, sales and operations, and product partnerships. And now he's looking to help fintech companies across the globe power better solutions with location data at Foursquare. And with that, I'll pass it off to Gavin to share a little bit more about Foursquare and their use cases applicable to financial services customers.
Thanks, Mohsen. Appreciate the intro. Good seeing you again. As Mohsen mentioned, I'm Gavin. I'm a senior director here at Foursquare, and I'm here to talk about the value of location data, the products we offer across several verticals, and more specifically, how we help customers like MX leverage location data to enrich transaction data and personalize the banking experience. But before I do that, I'd like to tell you a little bit about Foursquare. Foursquare is the leading independent location platform, and it's at the center of everything we do. We understand how people move through the real world and how those patterns change over time. We use that knowledge and our proprietary technologies to help brands, developers, marketers, and analysts understand consumers and engage with them. We're trusted by the best in tech, and thousands across the developer community interact with our services on a daily basis. For example, you interact with Foursquare even if you might not know it. Anytime you type in a restaurant name into the Uber application, the knowledge of where that place is powered by Foursquare. Anytime you geotag a tweet on Twitter, that's also us in the background. And one of my favorites, anytime you take a photo on Samsung device, the geotagging of that photo is done by Foursquare as well. Our solutions help businesses make smarter decisions, developers create more engaging experiences, and brand builds more effective marketing strategies. We rely on essentially 5 pillars that make us unique from other location providers and differentiates us in the market. Our key areas of focus are on accuracy and scale, putting privacy first, accessibility, and building a proprietary map of the world. For accuracy, we have 14 billion human verified check-ins and self-refreshing map with millions of always-on ground truth signals. For scale, we monitor a device graph of over 500 million devices, and we capture over 100 million places across 200 countries and territories. For us, respecting consumers' data privacy is non-negotiable. We put privacy first with our double opt-in consent measures, partner audits, and data supplier review programs. Our data is also highly accessible. Our customers can readily procure and ingest our data through the AWS Data Exchange and build cloud-native solutions downstream. Also, we're independent. Our product quality and accessibility is not tethered to walled gardens. We've had a remarkable journey so far, and we're proud to have built a successful partnership with AWS along the way. I'd like to dive in a little bit deeper into the 2 products we offer, Foursquare Places and Foursquare Visits. These products are available for customers to purchase in the AWS Data Exchange. The Exchange allows our partners to build data pipelines faster with AWS tools like Glue and Athena, and build exciting applications with location data through services like Neptune, SageMaker, and Amazon Location Services. Our Foursquare Places solution provides precise firmographic details such as venue name, address, and category, as well as rich content attributes such as photos, reviews, and tips. Our Visit solution provides a daily feed of visits to specific chains or categories. We capture over 3 billion monthly US visits, 10,000 plus US chains across 4 million US venues. It's an international feed and consists of first and third party data. Our products help us serve multiple verticals, including QSR, travel and hospitality, financial services, and more across various personas and industries. The work we've done with MX has been focused exclusively on our Places offering. Over the past 12 years, we've refined our Places product to ensure we're accurately representing places in the real world and can quickly, efficiently update our product in a timely manner. In this flow diagram here, you'll kind of see the 5 steps we take in building our Places product. The first step we take is essentially aggregating disparate data sets from multiple sources. This includes our first-party apps such as Foursquare and Swarm. We do web crawling. We have direct merchant integrations as well, and have partnerships with various listing syndicators such as Yext. Second, we extract and clean any points of interest that contain incomplete information or are malformatted. And third, we use a proprietary clustering algorithm to group and score venues of similar syntax. For example, we may see 5 distinct references to the same Starbucks on the corner. And fourth, we summarize the output of our clustering process to ensure that we're representing the correct venue in our data set. And finally, we have an exhaustive QA process to ensure that any new data source or code doesn't break anything downstream. Throughout these steps, we use a combination of humans and machines, either in the form of distinct rules or ML models, to ensure we're accurately representing places in the real world. Now, with MX, I've been talking to many people at MX for years, very familiar with their use case around in the financial services space. We have been talking about their data enhancement offerings, and they presented us with the opportunity of wanting to better understand their customers. And to solve this problem, we honed in on providing our places data in 6 countries, allowing MX to cleanse, categorize, and enrich transaction data to advance its data enhancement solutions. The 3 solutions that my colleague David will get into a little bit more detail is transaction enrichment, AI-driven insights, and personalized marketing. With that, I'll turn it over to David.
Great, thanks, Gavin. Go ahead to the next slide. I just want to, before I go further, I want to acknowledge that MX recently, actually just yesterday, lost our CTO and co-founder Brandon DeWitt. MX's mission and vision is driven in large part due to Brandon's life. And one of our most popular shirts is actually that MX logo surrounded by the rainbow you see right down next to him. We consider that a sign both of pride and of hope that what we build at MX will leave the world better than we found it. And Brandon embodied that MX mission, vision, and our values better than any single person that I've ever met. But I'd say the words on the screen that Brandon said ring true in this conversation. We think that what we're building with will change the arc of humanity. We think that our data services combined with what Foursquare is doing will help us advance the ways that consumers experience their finances and ultimately improve the world in which we live. So let's start stepping into it on the next slide. So Gavin, can you advance the slide, please? Thanks. So I do appreciate Gavin kind of talking about the layers of how Foursquare works with location data, because it actually sets me up to talk about how MX enriches consumer financial transactions in ways we think we have opportunities to leverage the Foursquare data sets to further enhance ours. So if you aren't familiar with MX, over the last 11 years, we've built market-leading open banking connections and connectivity. We've built market-leading data enhancement. And then we've also built incredible financial health and banking experiences for both financial institutions and fintechs. And we're always looking for ways to improve our services at every level, and sometimes looking to outside data sources can help make leaps in quality versus just small steps. So one of our data scientists had been working with Foursquare, working with Gavin for probably over a year, identifying some of the most interesting parts of the data sets they had. And after Foursquare acquired Factual, expanding their international merchant sets, we began to quickly zero in on new ways for MX to identify merchants across a much greater number of transactions. Once our agreement was in place, one of our data engineers was able to set up our AWS account. We were able to do some ETLs on the data to our internal databases. So once we did that, we quickly identified those 3 use cases Gavin mentioned, which were how can we improve our transaction enhancement? What can we learn more about our users through our artificial intelligence-driven insights? And then what we think is the most exciting future is how we can leverage personalized marketing and messages, especially in a mobile application, to really engage with consumers and help guide, protect, and inform them. So I'm going to dig into data enhancement and specifically financial transaction enhancement, which is one of our most important pieces of technology. Because after we receive users' financial account data, we put it through a process that takes garbled transactions like you see at the very top of the screen, and put it through processes that take it and break it up into smaller chunks. So you can see just the description and just the merchant versus everything else with it. We put, go ahead to the next screen as I talk through this. We put classifiers on it. So we ask, is this a bill payment? Is it a direct deposit? Is this subscription related? So we look at different ways that are more informal or informational behind the scenes about a transaction. And then we also provide categories for it. So the categories are things like, is this a grocery store transaction? Is this a gas station? Is it fast food? Is it a more formal sit-down restaurant? Because those are how end users often think about transactions that also provide value to both experiences and to data sets. So the final layer after we do cleansing and we do classification and we do categorization is really enhancement. How can we add value to that data? How can we add new metadata like logos and locations specifically to the merchant that's identified through that process? I think it's pretty easy to see how Foursquare's data will enhance our ability to execute that function, because in the most simple form, we're going to add a library of very clean merchant data to our machine learning tools. So part of our processes are both I think I saw on one of Gavin's slides, both machine and human intelligence, or artificial and human intelligence, we have very similar mechanisms where we have humans reviewing many transactions, identifying patterns, identifying something that computers may not, and then also we take our findings and embed them in machine learning tools to make our processes even more efficient. And so when we can get a data set like Foursquare's and embed it within our machine learning tools, it just creates incredible opportunities for us to improve our efficiency of process because we know we have quality data behind it. The other piece is that the location data that you see on the right engages both experiences and gives insights into how and where users are moving. And so if you go to the next screen, or the next slide, it starts to give us more insights about how people are moving. So our data enhancement has given us the ability to use data in ways that others have not. And I think this is a great example. So after the accounts and transactions pass through cleansing, categorization, enhancement, or cleansing, categorization, classification, and enhancement, they're stored in our platform, and we're now building tools on top of those data sets. So by adding a much more robust set of data around merchant locations, we have an incredible amount of depth that we haven't had before, and we're excited to start working with that. But our latest iteration of financial tools are artificial intelligence-driven insights. So we feed the insights into our engine, creating some of what you see on the screen, insights that have goals of protecting, guiding, and informing users about financial events and the status of their financial life. So let's step to the next screen. You're seeing a broad range of the insights we can provide here. Well, actually, it's not a broad range, it's a pretty small range of them. But the vision of our insights gets deeper with location data. So because we're working to protect users, you can see things like unnecessary fee creation, potentially fraudulent transactions, and potentially duplicate transactions. So we can alert better on that. If we tie merchant locations to the merchant data and the transactions, we can much more easily weed out if something is potentially a repeat transaction or not. So again, one more additional layer of intelligence creates new capabilities for our data analysis. In the world of guiding better financial decisions, we identify savings opportunities, reinforcing positive patterns and moving them to improve behaviors. And with the data, we can show levels of credit utilization, helping guide users towards better credit scores, or show the impact of small purchases that, while they may seem unimportant, while I'm making one little swipe at a time, when put together can make a significant impact on my monthly finances. But lastly, and I think this is part of what we'll shift to when we talk about informing about finances, is that when you're being informed about your finances, context matters dramatically. A list of transactions on a screen doesn't mean a whole lot other than I spent money in a certain order. But when I'm told, hey, your bill payment is actually is $26 higher this month than it was last month, maybe I need to figure out why that happened with AT&T. I may not have been expecting that, but I only understand it in the context of my previous AT&T payments. I may not know how much I spend on a monthly basis. I just know it comes out every month. So identifying anomalies with transaction patterns and location patterns and travel patterns will help guide the development of new insights that we think will drive us to the next level. But context is why I'm most excited about what we can build with broader location data we have. So let's go to my last slide. So at MX, we think the future is a progression for financial institutions who are engaging with users. And the engagement must increase in personalization, and I would say personalization requires context. We've taken strong first steps by moving from the data that's on the left app in the screen. So it's simple. It's the data that comes across that's garbled. It has extra information that means nothing to me as a user. That same account in that middle slide is where we are today. We're able to add logos. We're able to cleanse the transaction to make it readable. And behind each of those is an even broader data set that you can expose by clicking into each transaction. But the future is that I have context. I have some of the tools that get in that. But the future for me is I'm walking into a Starbucks. So I would say actually Starbucks mastered this years ago with their app. I'd drive in the proximity of a Starbucks and my phone would buzz. I'd be told, hey, there's a Starbucks right there. Do you want to stop in for 10% off or 50% discount on an espresso, like the app shows on the screen? And so it was a nudge to say, hey, you're close. Why don't you just make the turn now? And so what we envision in a financial institution's future is, I know with my Chase accounts today, I was able to add in for about 60 days a 10% refund on any Starbucks purchase. What if Chase, when I walked by a Starbucks, had reminded me of that? Or if I'm walking into a Starbucks, it reminded me of that. Well, that adds a ton of value and actually could create a behavior that would mean maybe I don't pay with my Starbucks mobile app. Maybe I actually pay with my Chase credit card because I know I'm actually getting 10% back versus just some stars. So the ability to create value on knowing where a user is starts to expand dramatically when I start to understand how I can more fully utilize location data. I think one thing we saw with the Foursquare data that was really interesting is the ability to create a radius around a location data set. So it's not just about the exact pin of where the location is, but it's setting that radius. So when I'm driving by, or when I'm walking by, or when I'm walking in, there's intelligence in real time. So we talked about kind of a driven offer, marketing potentials. But again, if we go back to the mission and vision of MX, which is empowering the world to be financially strong, and using the tools we have, we think we fully have the ability to give people real-time insights to the actions they're taking when they walk in a store versus after the fact when they've spent the money, they get back and realize they spent too much. So we envision a world where I can walk into Starbucks or walk near Starbucks, and not only do I get told that I have 10% cash back, I also get told, hey, you normally spend about $60 a month on coffee and you're already at 70 this month. No suggestion there, but the ability to help people understand where they are within the context of their standard spending behaviors, we think provides an incredible opportunity for banks to be present with their users and advocate for them to make better financial decisions that help them advance their financial lives. So that's where we get most excited when we look to the future and the Foursquare data sets. So I'm actually now looking forward to hearing Mohsen speak about how AWS enabled MX and Foursquare to work so easily. So Mohsen, handing off to you now.
Thanks so much, David, and thank you, Gavin, as well. Really incredible to see the wide spectrum of use cases that Foursquare's Places data can help MX unlock with its own first-party data. So you may be wondering, how does AWS fit into the mix? And what we essentially do at AWS Data Exchange is we make it easier for the MXs and Foursquares of the world to be able to exchange data natively in the cloud. Across industries, we've heard from customers that it's really difficult to find external data sources. If I'm in the market for location data or transaction data or weather data, a lot of the search and discovery is left for me to do myself, to go identify who are the relevant data providers, what's their coverage, what sort of samples can I access. And a lot of this time really extends time to value of actually seeing if that data can translate into meaningful results for your business. And so our customers told us, we want the experience of searching and discovering data to be as easy as browsing Amazon.com. And we want the ingestion to be ultimately cloud native, alongside the existing first-party data and tools and applications that we use on AWS. And that's where AWS Data Exchange was meant to come in to help solve for customers. If you go to the next slide, what you'll see here is generally an overview of how AWS Data Exchange works as a fully managed service. On the left-hand side, that represents our catalog. So today we have a public catalog with 200 plus data providers and 3,000 plus data products, including free and sample products, and including a wealth of products from Foursquare in particular that you can seamlessly browse, subscribe to, and ingest into your S3 bucket. Once the data lands in your S3 bucket, it doesn't matter if that data updates on a daily basis, every minute, every quarter. Once you set up a feature we have called export data, the updates will always get delivered into your S3, so you no longer have to write up any code to ensure you're always ingesting the latest and greatest version of the data you're subscribed to. And once it's in your S3 bucket, you can use it alongside a lot of the existing AWS tools and analytics solutions you likely already use. So you can train ML models, whether that's with SageMaker, Forecast, or Personalize, or you can catalog the data with Glue and use it alongside a number of our query services, including Athena and Redshift. And you can also analyze the data in partner tools such as Databricks, Tableau, and Alteryx. And so what we've done here is made the entire search, discovery, and usage of external data all cloud native. So you no longer have to spend cycles on doing some of the undifferentiated heavy lifting associated with finding access to data and ingesting that data. And I'm also excited to share what we recently launched as a public preview earlier this month. for AWS Data Exchange for Amazon Redshift. So if you go to the next slide, what is AWS Data Exchange for Amazon Redshift? So, and on the prior slide, the workflow we were describing was really a flat file workflow where you're subscribing to flat files on Data Exchange and ingesting them into S3. Now you can actually cut out the ETL process entirely and subscribe to Amazon Redshift data that vendors are vending on Data Exchange natively. And so what that does is when you subscribe to an Amazon Redshift data set, you get access, read-only access to that data stored in Redshift, and you don't have to go through anything, additional steps to be able to query, analyze, and build applications alongside that data. And so this feature is in public preview right now. We launched it maybe 3-4 weeks ago, and I'm going to drop in the chat here. 1 second as I do this in real time, a link to a Foursquare listing that you can all subscribe to today. It's a free listing. Once you're subscribed, you'll have access to this Foursquare data set in Amazon Redshift. Hopefully that worked. But yeah, please, you'll have our contact information as well. So if you have any additional questions on Data Exchange in particular, our team will be happy to walk you through the full end-to-end experience. Again, we're here to help you access the data that you want that's most relevant to you and speed up time to value as it relates to data. So any pain points you experience, that's exactly what our service is really meant to go out and solve for. With that, I think we are ready to jump into the Q&A itself. Great. So let me just pull up some of the questions here. So the first question I'm seeing here is for Foursquare. Gavin, folks are looking to better understand, how does Foursquare's data stand out from other location data providers?
Yeah, good. Thanks for the question. I would say our biggest differentiator is the data we collect from our first-party apps. There's just an element of rich content that we capture through the apps that's very unique to Foursquare, and then specifically to our foot traffic insights. The first-party data that we collect leverages our SDK technology, which passively tracks mobile device users throughout their day in real time. So I kind of think, in summary, it's our first-party story through the apps and through our SDK technology that really sets us apart from other vendors.
Great. David, a question for you. In addition to location data from Foursquare, are there additional data sets that MX is now using?
We're actually focused, that's one of our primary data sets. We've done a lot of our own gathering of data sets. So in the same way that Foursquare has crawled the web in the past to gather data, we've done very similar things where we've actually had about 10 years of practice of going out, both scraping and doing manual searches to pull data in. But other than that, we have not been leveraging external data sources. So we do have a couple of use cases that are, we say they're in discovery right now. We're working on building pilots to bring in new data sets to help us, again, broaden our intelligence and deepen our insights into what a transaction actually is, so we can improve that enhancement layer even further.
Thank you. Another question that came in for me, what other data types are relevant for fintech companies on Data Exchange? It depends on the sort of use case and the type of fintech company. I would say if you're looking to enrich your own CRM and first-party customer data, we have a wealth of demographics data providers on the service that you can do that with. If you're looking for mapping and location components, we have folks like Foursquare. And if you're looking for just traditional market or alternative data to power and applications that you sell, i.e. to improve your own investment models, we have a wealth of data providers available on the service as well. So we do have a pretty wide range of data types available on the service that could be relevant for fintech companies. Just looking here at the chat, we have another question for Gavin, which is if you could maybe share a little bit more detail about specific brands using location data beyond MX.
Sure, yeah, keeping within the fintech space. So the way MX interacts with our places database today is via flat file, right? So they're ingesting millions of rows of data for, I believe, 6 countries or so. But we also have a places API that interacts with that flat file. So you can do things like venue search and venue explore. A company such as Chime Bank is using the Places API to, when users open up the Chime Bank application, Chime Bank has this feature where they can identify partner merchants that you can make deposits, because Chime Bank doesn't actually have any physical locations. So they're using the Foursquare API to search for partner merchants such as CVS and Walgreens to present those to their consumers when they are inside the app itself.
Awesome. Thank you, Gavin. David, a follow-up question for you. If MX doesn't use other third-party data sets, how is MX data platform built?
So that's a great question. MX's data platform is built primarily through consumer permission data. When we have a relationship with a bank or a fintech, they're often sending us their user data to put into our platform to get the insights and all the things I showed today. But when it's not their institutional data, we have aggregation services that allow a consumer to connect to their Bank of America account, their Wells account, their other bank accounts, and pull that data into our platform so that our client, the bank or credit union or fintech, can then see and access those transactions. And so those consumer permission transactions are often what we're reinforcing with the Foursquare data sets that we're using now.
Awesome. Thank you. And then another question in the chat for me was, what's the best way to discover data most relevant to me on AWS Data Exchange? So you can, of course, browse the catalog on your own. It's a public catalog. We have a number of filters that you can use to see which data type might be relevant to you. We also have filters by whether those are free products or paid products or sample products, as well as whether those are flat files or Amazon Redshift data shares. So you can completely self-service browse the catalog. If you're looking to connect with some of the specialists that we have on our team, we do have a number of folks that are organized by key data domains, and we'd be happy to connect with you, and you'll have our contact information at the end of this webinar to be able to. And we also have a form on our console when you log into the AWS Data Exchange console called Data Discovery, where you can input questions on specific data types or just general questions, and someone from our team will be sure to follow up with you as well. Another question coming in for Gavin. Other than POI data or places data, what other products does Foursquare offer so I can learn more about my own customers?
Sure. I think one thing I'd like to highlight, because actually David mentioned it in his screen flow of like, take transaction data today, enrich it, and then that next logical step of wanting to engage people when they're at or nearby a Starbucks is sort of unlocks interesting marketing opportunities. And the technology we have to enable that is the SDK that I mentioned. So the way the SDK works is it's built off of those check-ins that we captured through our apps, but allows companies like MX or Chime Bank can embed the SDK into their mobile application, and then it passively tracks where their users go throughout their day. So when users are at or nearby a particular venue, you can present them with a deal or offer, and then on the marketing side, you then have a better understanding of all the places that they go throughout their day. So you can segment them based on like, these are fitness enthusiasts because they went to an Equinox or 24-hour fitness, and these segments then can work downstream to power any marketing efforts that you have. So the SDK feeds our visits product, but we also make it available to partners to what we call enable passive place detection. So I'll just kind of highlight that.
And typically, what type of places data is included in the visits data? Is it just the lat long chain name associated with the visit, or do they get additional attributes as well?
Right, so the visit data is 2 parts, right? So there's the knowledge that a visit occurred at a place, and then we provide a supporting table essentially that you can then layer on hundreds of attributes that further describe that place, such as the hours of operation, whether or not it's good for dates, has Wi-Fi, things like that. Mohsen, I can't hear you.
Oh, I was talking to myself. Another question for you, Gavin, from the audience was, is Foursquare source data and aggregate it from other players, i.e. Dun & Bradstreet, Google, as some examples?
We have many integrations with third-party partners. I mentioned, Yext is one of them. We also have relationship with Dun & Bradstreet. Google is potentially a little trickier. I think there's maybe some validation that occurs against Google, but obviously we're not sourcing any data from Google. But there's thousands of third-party sources, including Merchant Direct, that we leverage on top of our first-party data.
Great, thank you for that detail, Gavin. I think that might be it on the questions. Just a friendly reminder to the audience that the recording of this webinar will be sent out to you as well on the email that you registered with. Gavin and David, thank you both so much for your time today. Super informative session, and I hope folks that attended are walking away with a better understanding of how places and visits data can be leveraged by fintech companies like MX.
Thanks so much, Mohsen. Thanks, Gavin.
Thank you, Mohsen. Nice to meet you, David.
Take care, everyone.